after I tried to study computer science, and the professor wouldn't let me because I was a woman. So I went into accounting. And when I graduated, I think there were 60 graduates with degrees in accounting. And of the 60, there were 4 women.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Season 5 of Stand Up and Stand Out. Can you believe it? Already to Season 5? It has been a whirlwind year already. A lot has happened. You guys know after listening to Season 4 that I just launched Chameleon Mindset, my new book about how to embrace change and build mental resilience to transform your life and career. Lots more information obviously coming on Chameleon Mindset. We'll have the new online course coming soon. We've been doing lots of webinars, and I'll be on the road for the book tour. So hopefully we'll get to catch up together soon. Because why not just do another one? I have another book that just came out, The Great LeadHERship Awakening. In this book, I collaborated with 20 other amazing women. Each of them contributed a chapter talking about when their leadhership was awakened and part of their transformation, maybe over the pandemic or maybe over a longer period of time. Really stepping into their power and showing what it means to truly be a leader. Welcome back to Season 5 of Stand Up and Stand Out. We are interviewing the wonderful women of the Great LeadHERship Awakening this season. And we've got Peggy Hedgpeth today. Peggy is an entrepreneur, creator, and former technical advisor to the Director of Appeal at the IRS. She's also the CEO of a successful international company she has built over the last 34 years. Peggy has an amazing story, and I can't wait to share it with all of you. Say hi, Peggy. Good morning.
Hi. Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
It's so wonderful to have you on the show and to have met you now a couple of times in person. Just love your energy and just incredibly impressed with your story and the trail that you have blazed for so many other women after you. So before we get too deep into the story, maybe we'll start with a little bit of why did you decide to join the Great LeadHERship Awakening book? What kind of inspired that part of the journey?
Well, my associates and peers have always said, Peggy, you should write a book. You should write a book. Well, I'm a busy person and I'm a numbers girl. I'm not a writer. So this was an opportunity for me to write a small book, a chapter in a book. And I could tell my story. And actually, I thought, I'm never going to hit 3,000 words. Well, I hit 4,500 words and I had to cut it off there. I probably could have written a book, but it just worked out. The timing worked out. And I decided to jump on the bandwagon with all the other women that took the dive with me.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I definitely think you can write a book about your journey. You've had so many interesting twists and turns throughout your career, but it is a lot of work to write a book. Having done a couple of myself, I definitely recommend this method of let's contribute a chapter and then someone else does the rest.
Much better.
Yeah. Well, if you guys haven't gotten to it yet, her chapter is chapter 13, which is Pressured to Quit. I Built Big Instead. 5'2", eyes of blue, and carrying a briefcase. So Peggy, why don't you share a little bit about your story and kind of what inspired you throughout to share these milestones in your life?
Well, when I was young, I wanted to be in business. And it wasn't fashionable for women to want to be in business then. As a matter of fact, there was blatant discrimination. And I took a lot of blows directly to my face. I took a lot of discouragement from teachers, from professors in college, and on it went. I tell a story in my chapter that when I passed the CPA exam, I went to a dinner, and you were allowed to invite your father to the dinner. That's because every other person in the place was a guy. It was 150 men with their fathers. I was the only woman in the room.
That is so amazing and so inspirational because it really set the path for so many women today. And knowing that, we're still experiencing some hardships, but nothing compared to what you went through to be able to, do something outside of the norm. You mentioned that, for school, really, you were only allowed a couple of options originally, sort of nursing, teaching, a couple of things, and going into business was like unheard of at the time.
That's exactly true. Exactly true.
And you mentioned too that even the school you wanted to go to, which was Boston College, it didn't allow women to go in at the time. And so you ended up going to another university, which is fantastic that came about.
Yeah. Yeah. I went to the University of Dayton, which is in Southern Ohio. It's another private Catholic college in Southern Ohio. And it worked out fine after I tried to study computer science, and the professor wouldn't let me because I was a woman. So I went into accounting. And when I graduated, I think there were 60 graduates with degrees in accounting. And of the 60, there were 4 women.
Oh my goodness. It's just amazing, how far we've come, but what it took to really get there. And then you talk about that you went to go work for the IRS with your CPA degree after that. And that sounds like an incredible adventure. But again, sort of a mix of discrimination as you were trying to find the right role, the right manager. How much did you learn during that time? And sort of what are your favorite memories there?
Well, I was hired to be an agent, and you had to have a degree in accounting to be an agent. So there weren't very many women that were agents. And I started out doing local audits in Cleveland. Then I transferred to Washington and became an international tax agent. That was really interesting work. From there, I went on to the tax treaty division. That wasn't as much traveling. When I was doing international work, I was flying all over the country. In tax treaty division, I was able to get my MBA at night through GW, George Washington University, in international business. So anyway, I kept climbing the ladder in the IRS till I hit my milestone, which was the technical advisor to the director of appeals. I had my own office on Constitution Avenue, and I burned out. It was suffocating, shuffling all those tax papers and no creative outlet. And I have a lot of creativity, no creative outlet. So I decided to quit. Much like I think a lot of women do today, they end up with a corporate career and they get burned out partway into it. And they decide to quit and enter into some type of entrepreneurship, which is what I did.
And I think that's exactly it. It's you created the template for what many of us are doing today. Because a lot of us still kind of got pigeonholed into a couple of key roles. There was more variety, but my degree is in international finance, and that was sort of where I stuck. And I had a similar experience of I got into the work and I was technically good at it, but I was bored out of my mind not too long into it. And so I started, really just creating jobs for myself where I saw opportunities within the different companies I worked for in Silicon Valley. But it took a lot of convincing people that, this was a problem. This is what needed to be fixed. And then there was a lot of discrimination as well. It was just like, you're just an accounting person, right? Like you couldn't possibly have a mind to do anything else besides the T accounts, right?
You're just a bean counter. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I think, there's going to be so much crossover in the future as jobs continue to evolve. And I think I always say that young people now are going to have to be entrepreneurs, even if they work for another company, because you have to take so much more control over your learning and growing and developing that it's not like before where, there was kind of like a set path of how your career goes. So I love that, you inspired people too. You're like, okay, well, I want to do something more creative. And then you went to go open the garden shop. So talk a little bit about that experience as your next adventure.
I opened a garden shop in Arlington, Virginia. And this was in the early 1980s. And everybody thinks, oh, right, a garden shop. Well, garden shops didn't exist back then. There was no such thing. If you went to the nursery, all they sold was feed and seed in the shops. There wasn't anything as a garden shop. So we created this little utopia, and it was very successful. It even made money the first year, which is kind of unheard of in the early 80s. It was very successful. But then once again, I wanted more. I didn't want to be a small retail shop. I wanted more, but my business partner was happy doing that. So she ended up with a store, and I went out looking to reinvent myself again.
I love that. I could just see, my mom loves gardening, and, I could see her going from her kind of corporate job to, wanting to do that now in semi-retirement and just really enjoy it. And it's just, again, you were just setting the stage for so many things to come. And the 80s were a difficult time. A lot like now, there was recession, there was a lot of challenges financially in the economy. And so to be starting a business and make it profitable, that's pretty incredible to hear.
Successful. Yeah, it was successful. Then I got on an airplane and went halfway around the world to Indonesia to start my next venture. And it was going to be teak garden furniture because we sold a lot in the shop. And I went to Indonesia because they had non-rainforest teak. And I was there in Bali, and I was in a local market where they were displaying all these fruits and vegetables, very exotic things. The Balinese people were selling them in the market. And everybody's looking at the fruits and vegetables. I was looking at the bowls they were in, and they were green enamel bowls. And I fell in love with them, and I thought, this could be a business. Well, I made it into a big business 34 years later.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nikki Green, and I am a life and business resiliency expert. I have been helping people for over 2 decades overcome their challenges and achieve their life and business goals. I wrote Chameleon Mindset for others seeking clarity while acclimating to new situations. This entertaining yet research-based guide to transitions will open your mind to unique strategies for finding purpose and achieving your goals. Through my new book, you will create the happy life you desire with 5 philosophies for change, beginning with C for creative adaptability. Move from resistance to resilience by assessing and adjusting your risk tolerance. The practical lessons in Chameleon Mindset will help you shift your mindset, sharpen your skill set, and overcome the things holding you back from dealing with change. We'll have the new online course coming soon. There are half a dozen modules in total, but the way you choose to pursue your destiny, it's up to you. Each module can be done independently or repeated as necessary to tackle new obstacles and new goals in your life. And you can earn extra Chameleon coins for uncovering them. What are Chameleon coins, you might ask? These are reward XP that you can earn to purchase additional Chameleon Mindset benefits as you progress through the course. You can get swag, group coaching, one-on-one coaching, exclusive event tickets, and networking opportunities. And if you collect enough coins, you can even earn a full-day VIP intensive with me to work solely on your goals. And by joining the Chameleon crew, you will also gain access to my network of thousands of influential people around the world with expertise to help you on your business, your personal endeavors, health and fitness, and so much more. Reserve a copy today and click below to be added to our subscriber list. That's beautiful. I love that story. And this is what I tell a lot of young people as well, is like, inspiration comes from so many places, and in order to really start to figure out what you want to do and where your path is going to take you, you do have to try new things. And hopefully you don't always have to go all the way halfway around the world, but it helps too, right? It's just so completely out of, your normal day to day and what you're experiencing. You see the world through new eyes. You get new inspiration for what you want to do. And although you went there for the teak furniture, seeing the bowls took a whole new pivot to a new thing.
I took a whole new path. I started the teak furniture, and that wasn't as successful. But after 6 years, I let that go. But I kept going with the enamel. And the enamel hasn't been an easy ride. I had a business partner for 15 years that was very difficult to work with. He was supposed to manage the warehousing, and he had drug addicts running the warehouse. And he was condescending, and he would override my business decisions. And he didn't have as much business experience as I had had. So it was a difficult relationship that I finally ended over 10 years ago. And since then, I reinvented the business again. And it's really successful. We drop ship for Pottery Barn and Neiman Marcus and Williams-Sonoma. We drop ship for a lot of upscale, well-known companies. And who would think about that from that little basin I found in the dirt in Bali?
It's amazing. And it's seeing that vision and how you've done it over and over again. I think this is another key attribute that people really need to harness. And what I coach a lot of people on is resilience. And you talk about that. It's that ability to, no matter what, and businesses go up and down, all businesses, big businesses, small businesses, medium and in between. You have to have that forethought to be like, okay, this direction isn't working. Here's what's coming, and here's where I'm going to take it, and have that leap of faith to be able to just keep pushing the envelope onto the next adventure. And I'm just amazed at how much courage you had to keep doing that over and over again, especially when you didn't have great business partners, that were always so supportive and on the same page with. So how did you do that? How did you have that strength, to finally say, especially with that last business partner, hey, this just isn't working and, it's time to say goodbye?
Actually, I went through a hard time for a while there. I got really depressed and I started drinking too much wine in the evening. So I went and got help. And after I got help, all these people came out of the woodwork that were so supportive of me that I didn't realize were there backing me. And that helped me get my head screwed on straight. And then I could tackle the problems. And business is solving problems. Somebody told me that a long time ago. Business is solving problems. There's always another problem the next day. So you'll never end. It will never end.
And that's so important for people to understand, especially some people are still struggling after the pandemic the last few years because it was difficult and it was unexpected. It's one thing, when you pick a challenge and you're kind of going after it, there's going to be ups and downs. But I think a lot more people are struggling because of this happening to them, right? And being able to recalibrate and get back in it. And I think it's really brave to ask for that help, and make sure you get support from people around you. I think for too long, we also told people, well, you just got to do it by yourself. Your own hard work is the only thing that's going to pull you through. And I think we're learning more and more, no, the support and the help from others is really what can make the difference. So talk about maybe a little that decision to go in and take that break and how hard maybe even that was to do.
Well, it was difficult to do, but after going through all of that, I sort of reinvigorated my staff and slowly but surely added people. And everybody is self-motivated, go-getter, and we're all virtual. They're spread all over the country. And I don't have to keep track of them. They're running the business. And it's really been a successful venture.
Yeah, Peggy was way ahead of her time. And she had her team already remote and working and trusting her employees to do what they needed to do. And I think it's an important mindset shift for many leaders as well, is for them to think about that. I think too many people had this old mindset that, well, unless my employees are right in front of me, I don't know what they're doing. They're probably screwing around. And I'm sure you can say that's definitely not the case, right?
Actually, it made them more independent and more aggressive on their own, which is wonderful. I just can delegate things and it happens.
Yeah, it's like pushing the little bird out of the nest, right? It's like, go forth, go fly, go do your best. And it's amazing what they're going to get to, right?
And they're all really good at what they do. So it's a blessing for me. The other thing I wanted to mention is because of my sour business partnerships, in my book, at the end of the book, I recommended going it alone. But nowadays, it's so much easier to get help. Even if you're an independent entrepreneur, there's business coaches, and there's business counselors and consultants at your fingertips. And I had to do it all myself. There wasn't anybody to call.
And that's so important. And I think it goes both ways. It's the doing it by yourself and having that confidence that you don't need the partner, but still knowing you need the support and the help. Because if you try to learn everything yourself, it's so much harder. It takes so much longer. And if you can learn from someone else who's already done this 1 or 2 or 3 times, then you just accelerate your learning and you get on to the things that are actually hard, which are still going to come into the business, right?
And now I get to do all the creative stuff that I always missed. I create product, and it's really fun to take a color and make it into a product and see the product be really successful and then see people flock to buy it. And it all starts from picking a color.
I love that. And so many people right now, they all have kind of service-based businesses, like myself, speaking and podcasting and, writing and things like this. But I love that you have a product-based business and that there is still a way to thrive and do that and use your creativity like together in one. So that's beautiful. Well, time flies when we're having fun. So I would like to know, as we kind of head out here, what's next for you and Golden Rabbit, and where do you see kind of the next years ahead?
We're working on product development now for 2024 and 2025. And we work way out. Some projects take longer than others, but we let them ferment and stew, and then they come out beautiful when we're done with them. So we're always working on product development. When 2025 be done, we'll be working on 27. We always are working on something, creating something. It's fun. That's the part I enjoy. And then the other thing is that we're constantly looking at our customer base, and we have a few new customers in our hip pocket that will be starting with us this summer. And that's exciting.
That's fantastic. Well, I wish you all the best, Peggy. I feel so blessed to have met you first in Dallas and then to be able to collaborate with you. I just thank you for all the hard work that you put in over the years, because it really has made a difference, for my generation to be able to do the things that we've done. So thank you so much for joining us today. And if you guys haven't bought it yet, don't forget to grab The Great LeadHERship Awakening and learn about Peggy and all the other amazing women in this book. Thanks everyone for joining us today for another episode of Stand Up and Stand Out. You know you can catch us where all the cool kids hang out that do podcasts on all the major platforms. And if you want to connect with Nikki directly, you can get a hold of me on my personal site, thenikkigreen360.com. There you can check out my website, you can see any of my new books, you can learn more about this podcast, and follow us on social. Can't wait to hear from you, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.